Hello everyone, I had a comment asking how I do rendering for my art. I'll be honest and admit I have no idea how I shade. It just kind of happens, but I'll do my best to explain the process. The first thing anyone who wants to render needs to know: how do shadows work? I have a small chart explaining my mindset when it comes to understanding shadows and lighting. It's on screen right now. Another important thing to do is have references. There's multiple different pictures and art explaining rendering and shading. I can't explain anything for shit, so I'll lovingly assume you already know how lights and shadows work, so we can get on to the tutorial. Remember that I am no expert and my style of shading may not be for everyone. The app I use to draw and shade is a ye old relic of the past, Sony Sketch.
What the heck?
Right now I'll be drawing a quick base to use as an example of shading. Now that we have a base, we can start on shading. The first thing I do is duplicate both the line art and coloring layers to merge them. Then I use an alpha lock tool to color the duplicates into one color to use as a shadow. Right now I'm using a dark blue for the shadow. After creating a silhouette, I use a selection tool and select the silhouette. This is so mistakes like this wouldn't happen. Now we must figure out where exactly should the light be coming from. It's a hard thing to decide, but once you do decide, the shading comes like second nature. First, you basically block out the shapes of the light by erasing parts where the light source will hit. You must keep in mind that light can be obstructed by bumps, ridges, and dips, which can cause a shadow to cast in that area. As you can see, shadows fall on the face like water. The light is blocked by the nose, cheeks, and lips, such as a rock in a stream can split the stream in two. Same with these two chihuahuas in a less harsher light. The sunlight spreads around their fat heads and tiny bodies. No, that wasn't an excuse to show you pictures of chihuahuas. You're delusional. Stop making things up. Here, we start shading. We follow the light as if it was a stream of water. From the tip of the ear down to the base, then to the big ass fucking forehead, following with the other ear. Shadows can show the texture of the object, showing that it is fluffy, bumpy, or soft. Now that we have the building blocks of the lighting, we can begin with the texture. This base is fluffy, so we will use a soft eraser to soften the shadows, making the texture of the head seem more fuzzy. After we finish tracing, we will use a brush that best mimics fur and hair. For my drawing app, the dry oil brush is the best to mimic fur. We will do this similar to how we used the soft eraser. Remember to turn on the selected silhouette from before and begin the process again with the dry oil brush. After we trace along the shadows, we turn the brush into an eraser using the brush's settings. This will make the shadows feel more layered. We can perfect the shading by turning the opacity low and switching from brush to eraser as we soften and layer the shadows. Now onto my favorite part, stray hairs. When the light is casted on fur or hair, the light is scattered a bit due to how fur and hair are spread out and thin. Here are some good examples of how hair is affected by light. No, that wasn't another excuse to show you chihuahuas again, shut up. Another part that's my favorite, Gradients. We use a large soft eraser to lighten the parts closest to the light source and a large soft brush to shade the parts furthest away. This creates a nice gradient on the shadows and makes it seem really soft. Now that we are done with the shadows, we can get to the lighting. First, we create layer 1 of lighting. It's very similar to how we shaded, but just on a different side. Instead of a silhouette, we use the selected area from before and use a large soft brush to highlight the area where the light source hits. Make sure to have a gap between shadow, main color, and light source. This helps the shading feel less overwhelming. The light can hit places where there is shading, but only a tiny bit. After we are done with layer 1, it's off to layer 2. This helps build the light to make it seem more shiny. In a picture, there is always a darkest point and the brightest point. The brightest point is where the light is concentrated, as it is the area with the most exposure. The darkest point is the most concentrated, as it is the area with the least exposure. Remember to also use a large soft eraser to add slight gradients to the lighting, similar to how we did to the shading. Erase the parts closer to the shadows. Lastly, and if you want, you can use a lighter blue to add an extra highlight to the shading. This makes it super soft. Same with the lighting. After that, we're all done. Now you noted how to. Now you can render like me. Ooh, you can. Yeah. No, that wasn't an excuse to show you pictures of chihuahuas. No, that wasn't an excuse to show you pictures of chihuahuas. No, that wasn't an excuse to show you pictures of chihuahuas. No, that wasn't an excuse to show you pictures of chihuahuas. You're being delusional, stop making things up. I wish I was special. So fucking special.